Now a follow-up report we told you about last night on the timeline loophole that lets some multiple DWI offenders legally keep their license to drive. News 10's Lydia Kulbida has more.
I just heard back from the commissioner of the DMV's office, and they've agreed to talk to me next week. But in addition to the questions we already had on how the DMV can keep repeat DWI offenders off the road now, before legislators try to close the loophole, we heard more questions today about what some call inconsistencies when it comes to how the DMV interprets what's already on the books.
Only in New York does permanent not mean permanent.
Former DWI prosecutor, now defense attorney Tom Carr, explains permanent revocation after multiple DWIs in New York actually only means for 5 or 8 years. And if your convictions are spread out over a longer period of time than what the law counts now, you never lose your license at all.
Other people on the road shouldn't expect the state to sanction someone who has 9, 10, or 11 convictions.
Warren County District Attorney Kate Hogan is on the opposite side of defense attorneys most times, but in this case, she and Tom Carr agree.
One of the components of dealing with DWI offenses is every time there's an issue that's raised, the legislature correctly tries to fix it, but in fixing it, they're adding on to a statutory scheme that's becoming very, very cumbersome. And I think that's how you get these loopholes.
The way I put it is tragedy makes bad laws. And down the road then we're left to deal with implementing or trying to figure out what the legislature actually meant with those new laws.
Compounding the problems with the legislation, says Carr, is inconsistent interpretation on the part of the DMV.
It's all too frequent an occurrence that I'll have different clients coming to me with the same issue, having already spoken to DMV and getting different responses.
We heard the same thing from Rensselaer County Clerk Frank Merola.
Even though we do a lot of things online, the transactions that we actually do in the DMV office are very, very complicated at times.
So they're complicated here. You call down to the commissioner's office to get an answer on something. What happens?
Well, we seem to get different answers depending upon who the clerk is.
Merola says he's seen mandatory suspensions after some drunk driving offenses end up being just a few weeks if the offender completes a drinking driver program early.
It's that lack of consistency that leads me to say as well that we really need to take the interpretation away from DMV, give it back to the legislature. It's going to slow down the lawmaking process for specific laws, but I think we're going to end up with a better product and a product that everybody's going to know where they stand, rather than this sort of vague mishmash that we have at the moment.
We have lots of questions now for Commissioner Barbara Fiala, and we'll bring you the answers after our interview next week. Plus, we're also following up with senators working on making permanent revocation after multiple DWIs really mean permanent. Lydia Kulbida, News 10 ABC.